Hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank
Hi,
you
everyone.
so much for coming back and joining us. My name is Tamika Thompson, licensed professional counselor. We're so excited. We know it's been a few weeks and just wanted to get started back up. Again, I'm Tamika Thompson, and you are?
Alicia Freeman, also a licensed professional counselor, and Happy New Year, everyone.
Yes,
We are excited to be
yes,
back.
yes. Very excited, very excited.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that everyone, one, had a good end to their 2023 year. I don't know about y'all, but 2023 was up and down all year long. I went from having my daughter to just feeling like I was just struggling to readjust going back to work, to losing a very important person in our life towards the end of the year, and then like going into the holidays without that person being there. It's definitely been a roller coaster of emotions this year. And so I think that brings us to our topic for today.
Yes, definitely. And thank you so much for sharing. I would say the same too. It's been an up and down for 2023 for me, but an exciting year. A lot of people talk about, oh, what are my New Year's resolutions? I've decided I'm not doing resolutions, I'm doing goals. What are
Okay.
my goals for 2024? And what am I going to be doing to be successful and help the people around me be successful? So I'm super excited. Like we were talking about, there's definitely been some downs. In this podcast, we want to talk about grief. And this is going to be a little bit probably a heavier topic for some people, but we wanted to provide what that looks like, the stages of grief, what to expect. And just guys, if you guys have any questions, because everybody has questions on grief, everybody goes through grief. And we want to kind of talk about too what that looks like. It doesn't always mean losing a person to death. So Alicia, would you talk to us about the different stages of grief and what that looks like?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, if you were to ever to look up just the stages of grief, sometimes people would say that there's more stages than most people experience, but the primary stages of grief is denial, then you experience anger, bargaining, depression, and finally acceptance. The main ones I always tend to focus on the most is more so, I would say, the acceptance part of it, just because people hear the word acceptance and automatically assume that they're going to forget about that person if they accept that they're no longer with them or with us, right? But acceptance looks different for everyone. Acceptance could mean like, I know that there's nothing I can do to change it, but it doesn't mean that I have to forget this person, that there's also ways for me to celebrate their life as opposed to being down about their death, right? Because we know that we can lose people in all different types of ways, whether it's a sudden death or an expected death. It doesn't make it any easier, right? But once we get to that stage of acceptance, it makes it somewhat easier to be able to move forward in life and be able to continue with our lives. And people who don't get to that stage of acceptance tend to go through the other stages over and over, whether it's the anger all over again, or the depression all over again, or the bargaining, right? Where, oh, maybe if I did this, this wouldn't have happened, or maybe I should have called them and, or checked up on them and said those final words and all those things that we feel like we should have done that was going to slow down the time of that death. But in reality, there's nothing we can actually do to
Exactly.
change what has already happened.
Exactly. And one of the things that I feel is important with those stages is everybody thinks, or not everybody, some people think that, I'm going through these stages and I keep having to move forward. We revert back sometimes. We go from the denial to the bargaining, and then we go back to the guilt. And
Yep.
we're just juggling. So that's one thing I want you guys to hear is like you're not going to go through a stage like a robot. You're going to experience different things in your life and the bargaining, yeah, I think is a big one. Is like I hear from a lot of people, God, if you do this, I'll do that.
Mhm.
If you bring them back, I'll do this and stuff. So we do a lot of bargaining, but that's part of the process. Um, and like what Alicia was saying too, is it's not just about death, it's about losing someone, a relationship. We go through grief of that. It's about losing someone in your family that you thought maybe you were close to, and you're at different stages in your life. We go through that loss and that grief, and you have to understand we react different. We don't all react the same. We react differently, and that's okay. Part of that is the growth process, like Alicia was talking about, is getting to that acceptance stage. It might take weeks, it might take months, it might take years, but you will get there. And one thing to remember too is having someone that can help you get there. You don't have to deal with it by yourself.
Mhm.
I think that's something that's really important, especially women. I think we have to keep going. It's like, hey, we'll figure it out, and then we go somewhere and cry, and then we wipe our tears away and get back to our day to day. And a lot of people call that resilience, but it's called to being just trying to be tough, and trying to handle things on your own. So it's really important to understand and to connect with your mind and your body when you're going through that, and be okay with the stage that you're in.
Mhm.
What do you think, Alicia, about someone that is young, that has maybe experienced a loss in their life, and they're like, I don't know how to handle this. I am, why am I so mad all the time? What would you tell someone that's experienced a lot of that anger in the stages of grief?
Well, especially someone is young, but I feel like that applies to a lot of people,
Yeah.
no matter the age, that it's normal to be angry about it.
Mhm.
That what you're feeling is okay to feel, especially if it's a person that's close to you, especially if it's an unexpected loss, right? But
Mhm.
even still, like I find that a lot of people who are religious probably experience more anger than the person who's not religious, right? Because we have this belief in God or whoever that spiritual being is, and that, what we've been taught, especially in the churches about trusting in God's words and all those things, it's like
Mhm.
now there's a battle against those words because you're like, God, I prayed and you
Yep.
didn't answer my prayer, right?
Yes.
So
Mhm.
that can cause anger within itself. But I think it's all in just how you process the anger at the end of the day. Like, it's okay to be angry. This is a normal feeling. You're not
Mhm.
alone in feeling that way. But what you do with that anger is the most important thing.
Yeah.
How do you deal with it? How do you handle it? And finding out where the anger is stemming from.
Mhm. Exactly. And a lot of people too experience a lack of connection when they're going through this stage. They feel like I'm the only one that is dealing with this. I'm the only one that's experiencing this. So some of the things to look for whenever you're going through that loss is not wanting to eat, not being able to sleep really well, just feeling like your moods are up and down, feeling like, I don't want to talk to this person. I want to isolate. I want to be by myself. People do go through things like that. What would you tell somebody too that feels like I don't want to eat? I just want to be by myself all day. This is not fair. What would you tell someone that is having those symptoms?
See, that I feel like that's a bit difficult because it varies. Because a
Hmm.
person, let's say hypothetically you lost your mom, right? If you're really close to your mom, that might stem from not wanting to live anymore because
Yeah,
you feel like you might be better off not being here as opposed to being here and being
yeah.
without your parent, right? So I do think it varies, and I think it's important as a therapist to really identify like the root issues there. Is it that you're experiencing depression from grief, or is it something even deeper than that? Um,
Right.
so really exploring those emotions, exploring like why you're feeling that way, but also, sometimes you have to just tell people like, what do you, or ask people like, what do you want?
Hmm.
What is your goal? What would that person say if they saw you like doing this right now, not eating,
Yeah.
not getting up? Is that how they wanted you to live your life? And most of the
Mhm.
time, what I've heard at least is no, they wouldn't want that for me, right? So
Mm.
if you know they wouldn't want that, what can we do to get you back in a better headspace? Maybe eat a meal at least once in the day,
Yeah.
right? and that not being French fries, something that's healthy, that's going to help boost your mood, right?
Mhm.
Because when you start to like feel those emotions of sadness or depression or whatever you might be feeling, and then you use bad habits to cope with it,
Yeah,
then that's how you're going to continue to cope no matter what is going on, right? Whenever those emotions start to show up, then your
mhm.
way of coping is in an unhealthy way. So
Exactly.
establishing like healthier ways to cope is definitely important there as well.
Exactly. I had a parent ask me one time, like, what do I do? My son is going through not feeling himself and not eating. And to me, that was such a great question. And also too, I think it wanted to help I wanted to help empower her and say, like, you're doing the right thing just by being there. Sometimes our kids don't want to talk about things, and it's okay to let them go through that process. I think eventually they will get to the point where they do want to talk to you. And if they don't, making a space where they can talk to somebody. And it's okay. Kids go through just that, I want to be alone. I need to be in my thoughts, and that is okay. That is okay. And I need our parents to hear that too, because they're thinking like, I need to be there. I need to make sure they're okay. And just by your presence is making them okay.
Yeah.
So that is one of the biggest things that I wanted to say too about the grief and stuff is you just being there. Sometimes taking a walk and not saying one word is so important to them. It's so important to that person that has lost someone. And I want to also say too, I know the holidays or a big stressor for a lot of people. What would you, what's something that our families or, I'm going to take this too for myself. What is something that we can do for the holidays? Because it's hard for me during the holidays. I did lose my mom and I lost my dad. So I'm just like, I'm here, I'm blessed, I'm happy, but I also have this in the back of my head, like, man, I wish I could, eat my mom's food again or laugh with my dad or something like that. So what would you tell families that are experiencing some rough times right now during these holidays?
Well, a couple of things there, but I do want to briefly like go back to what you just said about what you tell parents. I think
Hmm.
it's also important to know, like, understand who your child is. For
Yeah.
instance, with my niece, who's 10, she has a twin sister. They are like complete opposites, though. They are true fraternal twins. She is very inquisitive about death. She reads the Bible. She has a deeper understanding of certain things that not every 10-year-old has. And
Hmm.
so when they come and ask questions about death or whatever the case is, I think a lot of parents shy away from that because there's
Yeah.
that fear of saying if I say too much, then that's going to cause them to have fear about death as well. But then
Hmm.
I've also seen the opposite side of not sharing that with them, and then they grow up to be adults who don't have an understanding of death as well. And so I
Yeah.
do think it's important to kind of like find that in some ways that gray area of being able to explain to them what this means
Yeah.
so that they can gain a deeper understanding of that, but also have that space available for them. And sometimes in reality, you just have to be creative as well as parents. Like
Hmm.
maybe they don't want to talk, you know what, I'm gonna buy them a journal.
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna buy them some art activities or
Mhm.
other things that they can do that, hey, doesn't require them to talk to me, but they find a way to express whatever emotion that they're feeling that they don't know how to express verbally.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, that's so important. And I'm glad you did bring that up is again, we keep reiterating that making a space for them and being creative if they don't want to talk is do a journal or buy some artwork, something that's going to help them be able to express their self in the way that they're comfortable with. So that's very
Exactly.
important.
Well, and with the holidays, first off, I know a lot of people are thinking, it's the beginning of the year. Why are we talking about grief as the first episode for the
Right.
beginning of the year? But this is the time of the year where people forget to talk about grief, in my opinion. We talk about it before the holidays because we know going into the holidays, a lot of people are going to experience that grief even or re-experience grief or
Mhm.
um, miss that person that was significant in their life during that time of the year because holidays have been shown, oh, love and family and rejoice and all these different things, but it's like the people I want here, I can't do those things with, right? So I do think it's important to kind of like discuss the after effect of the holidays and why it's so important to just like check in with people and say, hey, I know the holidays just passed. I know it's been a tough time not having that family member there or whomever it is, friend or whatever.
Mhm.
I just want to know that you're okay. Um, I think when you're going into the holidays, preparing for that is so important. Some of the things that I've suggested is also like finding ways to celebrate that person or incorporating them into your celebration hot or your what is it called? Um, gosh, I can't think of the word.
Mhm.
Everyone has their way of celebrating for
Mhm.
Christmas or whatever, right? Some people decorate a tree for Christmas, for instance. Maybe you can create an ornament that is specifically for that person. So every single year, you know that they have a place in your home as you all are celebrating, right? Or maybe there's a time where, hey, maybe I want to visit their gravesite and just say, hey, mom, I miss you. I'm just checking in on you. Say your prayer, whatever that looks like. Some people let go of balloons. I don't know about balloons necessarily, but
Mhm. Mhm. Parents.
there, I say look at it as a celebration.
Yeah,
But the reality is that not everybody wants to celebrate, right?
exactly.
Some people are just sad and down, and I say to that it's okay to like feel those emotions, but also continue to check in with yourself. It's like you can prepare so much and knowing that when Christmas Day comes, I'm probably going to feel sad. But I
Mhm.
do feel like preparation helps because you know that that emotion is more than likely going to happen. But
Yeah.
you're also mentally preparing yourself for that. So when the day actually comes, it may not be as bad as you think it's going to be. So
Mhm.
just knowing like it's coming up, I think helps people in some ways. But I can never tell a person how to specifically like celebrate a
Yeah.
person's life, right? Because everyone celebrates in a different way.
Mhm.
But I say like preparing, finding a way to do that, and also just sharing your grief with someone else, saying, you know what, I have a close friend who knows how close I was to this person. And I just want them to know, like, hey, it's that time of the year.
Yeah,
I'm missing whoever this person is. And can you just check in on me? Can you
exactly.
just, just ask me how I'm doing. I might
Yeah.
not want to give you an answer, but you checking in on me is going to help me because
Yeah.
I know that someone is there.
Yeah, and I'm gonna play a little bit of devil's advocate too. We definitely want to celebrate the people in our life, but be okay with that anger,
Mhm.
with them. If you feel like, I'm just mad at you for leaving, it's not saying that you're trying to throw guilt, or it's just you owning and going through your feelings. So once you go through that anger and that sadness, come on the other side of that and whatever that celebration looks like you talked about, if it's going to the graveside, if it's going to a favorite place, if it's checking in with a friend to say, hey, I'm having a rough time, let's do this. But preparation is so important for this, whatever that looks like. If you just need to go somewhere to the movies by yourself or a restaurant and just be in your thoughts or writing your thoughts, it's okay. Don't allow anyone to take you out of what you're feeling. It's just a process, and that's what we have to go through. I think us too as therapists and family members, we get scared of like, what if this person wants to hurt themselves, or what if this person gets so down on themselves? Be in a position where you're there for that person when they need you to be there, and ask those questions like, do you feel like this? Do you feel like you want to hurt yourself? Ask those questions. We get so scared of asking that question that we're thinking we're going to put them in that mindset of them wanting to hurt. That's not true. That is so not true. It's the point of asking and being there. That's what helps people open up and like, oh, they do care. Oh, I do have somebody that I can lean on. So just take that step. If you see somebody struggling, is talking to them. That's the first step. I know that was, a tough conversation, but I think a needed conversation. I want to quickly go over, we go back and forth. There's 5 to 7 stages of grief. So I want to quickly go over that. Again, so it's that shock and denial, the pain and the guilt, anger and bargaining, depression. We kind of have that upward movement where we feel like, okay, I'm not so depressed. I'm not feeling as guilty as I was. Reconstruction and working through, and then the acceptance stage. So those are the 7 stages of grief. We would love any feedback or any comments if you have questions about it. Because like I said, they go back and forth with the five, it's either 5 stages or 7 stages. I also want to briefly talk about the holiday grief hangover. Alicia, I would love for you to talk to our audience about that.
So I kind of like, we're gonna say we coined this phrase first off.
Okay, okay, I like
But
that.
I've actually never heard it worded in that way. And the reason why I worded it that way is because, again, we talk about grief going into the holidays and when we're in the holidays, but we don't talk about what happens after the holidays. We felt down, we felt sad, angry, depressed, whatever the case is. But then it's like, what do we do with all those emotions
Yeah.
now that the holiday is over? How do I restart my year and refresh my year? uh,
Mm,
to be more hopeful and to really try to focus on like what those goals are, right? Like I said at the beginning of this, like last year was up and down. We lost my husband's mother in October, right before the holidays. And although we know, in some ways we were prepared, in some ways we weren't, right?
yeah.
Because it happened, everything happened so fast. She was diagnosed with cancer, very rare form. And then it's like she was doing really good right before. And then next thing we know, we're getting calls saying that she was in the hospice, right? So it's like, how do you mentally prepare for that? Then we have a daughter at the same time that we're like being joyful and happy with and all of that, but then we're still experiencing that loss at the same time. Now
Mhm.
we're going into the holidays to where this is her first holiday,
Yeah.
first Thanksgiving, first Christmas, first New Year, whatever. But then it's also a first of her not being there. So like having those mix of emotions going into it, and that's not everybody's experience, right?
Mhm.
But just speaking from my own personal experiences, like, we were prepared. We checked in with each other. I checked in with him mostly because it's his mom. She was my, of course, my mother-in-law, somebody that was very valuable and important in my life as well. And I used to say she is our angel on earth. So, um, knowing that she's looking over us it's really brought us a lot of peace. And she's part of the reason why our daughter is here. And I always say that. But it's definitely like a holiday of mixed emotions, but just checking in with each other through the holidays is so important. But also the after effect is like now it's a new year. We can't hold on to last year when all these things have happened. Now we're going into a new year with
Mhm.
a totally new set of unexpected things. And
Mhm.
so it's like, how do we kind of like work through that and refresh ourselves? One of the things that I do, um, some people, like you said, have New Year's resolutions, you have goals. I used to
Mhm.
do both, right? But something that I've actually shifted to is a prayer list. And for that, it kind of looks like a goals list, but it's in prayer form.
Yeah.
And that's really brought me a lot of peace over the last few years when I started doing this. And it's something that I can utilize every single time I pray at night, right? I can refer back to that list knowing that this is what I really have focused for this year. This allows me that space to really like transform the way that I'm viewing this year, despite that
Mhm.
loss, that significant loss last year. Um, and it helps me to like have something to look forward to. So I think creating those goals, creating those resolutions, creating that prayer list or whatever is helpful for you, or even starting a new hobby is
Mhm.
great ways to like refresh your year and really have something to look forward to is very important and valuable in being able to move forward in life as well.
Exactly, exactly. And, a thing I want to say too is sometimes we make these huge goals or these huge resolutions. It's okay to make those, but make like steps to get to that, because I
Absolutely.
don't want you to feel like displeased or feeling like, oh my gosh, like this, I made this goal again and I didn't accomplish it. Make steps and then look at those steps that you accomplished to get to that bigger goal.
Mm,
Find some pride and happiness within those steps, because it's really important. We just overwhelm ourselves and say, oh, I'm gonna do all of this and stuff. And so we just have to take a step back, put steps in place. And,
absolutely.
hey, I did
I'm
this.
glad you
I did
said
this.
that because I mean, just because it's on the prayer list doesn't mean it's going to be answered this year, right?
Exactly.
There's been
Mhm.
plenty of things where I'm like, well, that didn't happen this year. I just re-added to next year,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
So don't doubt yourselves.
Yeah.
Believe in your growth, believe in your potential, and practice gratitude. Man, that's something that
Mhm.
I will always practice is gratitude. It grounds you. It allows you space to like really give yourself props for the things that you have done and also appreciate the things that are happening in your life in that moment. So
Mhm.
practicing gratitude is very important as well.
Gratitude and take ownership of the things that you worked your tail off for. Like you say, I did this, I worked on this, I did. So there is gratitude within that, because you have a space to, your mind is right, your body is right, where you can do the things that you set your mind to. So take some pride in that.
And just to like, I guess, leave us on a note of thought is that, the people that we have lost in our lives, we all know in some way had some type of significance, even if it was a person that smiled to you on the bus, right?
Yeah.
It's like no longer having that smile really plays a factor in how we view things and deal with things in life. And so, not only just appreciating the things that you've done, but appreciating the impact that that person had in your life.
Mhm.
And I know that, sometimes we can look at people and be like, but what if that impact was negative and positive? Well, what did you learn from that? How did you grow from that? How much resilience did you build from the experiences that you have with that person, right? And
Yeah.
knowing that you've come out stronger than you were before.
Yeah.
Um, so although we've all experiencing some significant loss at some point in our lives, just know like there's so much growth that happens from that. Um,
Exactly.
it's hard to see the positivity sometimes in things in losses, but it's there if you keep having faith and keep like focusing on the good in life as well.
Exactly. Take everything as a learning opportunity. How am I going to learn from this? How do I grow from this, even if it is a negative impact in your life? I had a hard time with that when I lost my mom. I was like, just nothing is great, but I had to look at, the things that it led me to and how much of a fight that put in me to make her proud, make myself proud, make my family proud. So definitely take everything as a learning opportunity.
Absolutely. And you're doing a great job, by the way.
Yeah. Thank you.
I
You
know
as well.
since I've known you, you've always talked about your mom and how important she is and she was in your life. And I'm sure she'll be very proud of the things that you've done. So, and telling your story too. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that. And again, I think it's led me to meeting my husband, having this beautiful family, meeting my beautiful friends and stuff. It's led me in a path of growth to becoming a therapist. And even though like I would take it and have her back, but I get my signs and stuff that she's watching over me, that she's there. Also my dad, I have my signs and stuff. He was a rougher man, but he it was that strong love, so it made me,
yeah,
and I am, it made me a little tough, but
it did.
I'm also got the nice side, so yeah. But yeah,
She's
thank
not a
you.
Sour Patch Kid, though.
Oh
She's more
no.
sweet than she is sour. So.
Sometimes. But yeah, this is I love this topic. I know it's a hard topic, but I do love going through the process of people, that the grief process, because there can be ways that can feel empowering on the other end for somebody. So this is something that sets home for me. So yes, yeah. Thank you for the opportunity for us to talk about it. And again, I know it was tough, but I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about grief and how we come on the other side of that.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad we talked about this as well. And I think it's important for people to know that if they are struggling with grief, there are tons of resources out there. If you would like some resources, if you would like to reach out to us personally for some
Yes.
resources, please do. My therapist needs a therapist at gmail.com. You can email us, just reach out. If you want to share your story, we'll be happy to share your story with the audience. Anything that you feel will be useful, please just reach out to us. Leave a comment down below on your experience with this topic. If there's any other topics that you would like us to discuss, if you want us to go more in depth with grief, maybe we can do it in a presentation style where we actually like providing you all with more tools than just conversation. Just let us know. We're happy to do that. This forum is for you all, right? We're the faces, but and eventually we'll have more faces to share with you all. But it's a forum for you all to just know that you're not alone, that you are cared for, that you're doing a great job, and there is no timeline and there is no particular way to deal with grief, right? Everyone is different. So again, we appreciate you all's time. Take a moment right now and
Mhm.
like our video, share our video. We're going to share it on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. If you're not following us, you're missing out, okay? Because y'all missed out on episode 3. I posted about it, all of that. Go back and watch episode 3 if you didn't watch episode 3. But
Mhm.
it's a new year, new topics, new conversations. Um, and I'm excited about it.
Very, very excited. And we also too want to thank you guys that have commented. We
Yes.
are viewing those comments. Keep them coming in. We're loving the feedback. And welcome to the new year, guys. Let's set it off. We
Let's
got this.
do it. I can't believe it's
Yeah.
2024, but
Man,
we're here.
exactly.
We are
Exactly.
here. But thank you all again. We appreciate your time, and we'll see you in the next episode of My Therapist Needs a Therapist. Bye.
Bye.